least from my perspective, we're now about implementation. What are we going to do with this content? What are we going to do to grow ourselves, to be cognizant of what other people are doing around us, to learn more and really develop attributes that serve us? Because as the author talked about, attributes, just like skills, can be developed and built and grown. They just take a slightly different approach and a little bit more effort. So with that being said, one of the attributes I'd love to see from you guys is open-mindedness, vulnerability, open-heartedness, and speaking up is how it should show up. So what do you guys have today?
I'll talk about open-mindedness.
Thank you. Because we're going anywhere in the content today. What do you got?
Well, as I've been going through attributes, it takes me back when I first started in business. One of the things that I was taught, and this goes back decades, is to shore up your weaknesses. And I'm not that kind of girl. I learned really fast. I'll never be in an office. I'll never type fast. I love people. I have different skill set. I should have been, whatever. And I chose to hone in on what I'm good at. And that is where I've spent my whole entrepreneurial life since I was about 21. And that's more than 4 decades now. There are certain things that I know. Thank you, Russ. But there are certain things that I've not done. And, I've been here since 77, and the hike and bike trail of Austin, Texas has been part of my life since 1977. And so last weekend, Mark and I were down there, and I always leave my phone in the car. So there's too much excitement going on down here. It was 100 degrees. We were 2 hours later than we normally were. I was glistening. We don't sweat at this age. I was glistening beyond measure, and I did a live. I recorded myself, and I talked about the growth in the city and the state bird of Texas, which is the crane, like construction cranes. And it just felt good to do something raw. So I just thought I'd share that.
One of the great ahas from that I want to make sure everybody anchors is how we have been trained our entire life incorrectly to improve your weaknesses, to focus on your weaknesses and get better. That whole negative way of being taught to look for what's wrong. I mean, kindergarten, first test, your teacher didn't put smiley faces against or next to everything you did right. There was one big, ugly red X against what you did wrong. And that's what we've implemented. And Sharon is absolutely right. What we should do in this world of real estate, especially, is lean into what we're good at, or what we absolutely should be doing, our job description, and then farm everything else out. Find leverage to do the stuff you're weak at. Don't spend the time. I do not spend the time, effort, energy on my videos, editing them and creating thumbnails and I have someone else who does all that stuff. By the way, and I'd love your guys' help, I also don't ever review any of them. I believe I am my own worst critic. Probably you do too. I believe that the sound of my own voice is the ugliest sound, which most people think that as well. And I can always look again when I watch something for what I did wrong. So I just step out and I get feedback from you guys or others. My sister-in-law has been awesome on feedback for what I could do to get better. And I love that. And it's stuff that I would never see because we all have blind spots. So I'm going to challenge you over the next 5 months between now and the end of the year. Figure out something that you're doing in your business that you don't like doing, that isn't your job description, and figure out a way to get some leverage to get it done. Love to see that. Thanks, Cheryl. What else you guys have?
Well, I stepped out of my comfort zone yesterday. I took a Women's Council of Realtor real estate negotiations class, and there was a lot of interactive and role playing. And I don't mind role playing with, like one or two people typically, but this was this room full of people, and she would mix us up and make us go with different people and get up in front of class and at different times. And I'm like, you go, you go. And then finally, like it's no, that person already went. It's your turn. And I'm like, okay, here I go, and go get up there in front of the class, which I hate public speaking. And, but I ended up having fun with it. And like the next time they called for somebody, I was like, I'll go, and made myself get back up there and do it again. And in different cases, it was like, what was something that happened to you in real estate? And, nobody chimed in. So I'm like, I will. So about 4 times yesterday, I made myself get up in front of a class and talk. And you know what? It wasn't terrible. So, and I'm still here.
Still here, still alive. It didn't suck, and you brought something into the room that we haven't talked in quite a while. So I want to make sure we get it up. And Carrie, I'm going to mute you for a sec, and then I'll call you back. This concept of affirmations, this concept of the words we use and say to ourselves. And we've heard all the time from lots of leaders that affirmations are good things and they create a future for yourself. And yet we've also seen and experienced a lot of mocking and saying that affirmations don't work. And so many of you may have bought into that. So I want to kind of take a dive on that because Rhonda, you said something. I hate public speaking. Is that an affirmation? Yeah, it's just a really shitty one.
Bad one.
Exactly. And here's the key with this. If you're questioning whether affirmations work or not, I'm just going to use your own thoughts to prove the point. If I was in front of a room, which I've been in front of lots of rooms, or Rhonda, if she was in front of that room yesterday speaking, and I walk when I talk, I work the whole room. And if in my mind I was going, I'm going to trip, 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 what would happen? And like everybody's nodding heads, you would trip. So we all believe that the negative comes true. If our mind is thinking negative comes true, well, know that your mind has no filter for good or bad, positive or negative. Your subconscious takes everything in filterlessly. So the positive just works the same. I'm going to be awesome. 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 And how were my days in front of those rooms? They were awesome. I never worked a day in my life during those 5 years because I had that attitude and that energy going into every room. So I challenge you guys again, just like we just challenged on getting some more mindset cleaned up. I'm going to challenge you again on this. Catch yourself. Turn on that RAS. Pay attention to the inner dialogue. How many of you would be friends with someone who spoke to you like you speak to you in your own head? Let's just start changing that and fall in love with ourselves and be great friends with ourselves. Carrie, you're up, my dear. Well, Carrie, I see her. She may be on another line now because her camera is off. So who else?
I'm glad you just said that because I became conscious that I have this nonstop chatter in my head. And I have started going, excuse me, are you inside my head? Did I give you permission? I don't want to hear that. Don't waste my time. And the demon in there, whatever it is, goes, oh, and it goes off in a huff. I don't care what kind of mood it's in, just so it goes away and leaves me alone. And I've recently discovered a magic. I live in an area of Boston where there are lots of people from all over the world, which really turns me. I love that. And the people who speak Spanish get so excited if you just try. If you just say buenos dias, they act like you're a genius. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to learn the language so I can speak to them because they're friendly, they're kind, they're wonderful, and it might lead to agents and stuff like that. And so I started with turning on Spanish music, and it is so captivating. It's so happy that I couldn't help but get up and start wiggling my butt and dancing around. And I thought, these people are amazing. They are happiness. And I'm going to hang out with them more.
Good. Plug in with them. And here's the fun part, because you said something great, Dorothy. I want to make sure everybody hears that you're working on turning off that chatter. And that is good. Yet I want you to plus it, because I know you're capable and others are too. Instead of turning it off, let's just change it. I want the chatter in your brain. I just want it to be how awesome you are. How out of 6 billion possibilities, God decided that that sperm was going to meet that egg to create a Dorothy. This world needed a Dorothy. You were chosen, you were selected, and you are amazing. Thanks for being here. Carrie, I see you're back, my dear, and you were going to speak up.
Because we were talking about implementing, I think. So I was just going to say that I got together with one of the people in this group, and we set a goal for me for next Wednesday. So I'm starting to implement that. Although I will tell you, I failed yesterday, but I'll double it up today, I promise.
There is no failure, only feedback.
Well,
you learned yesterday. Imagine you looked at everything as a learning opportunity rather than a quote failure. What do I learn from that? How do I get better? What do I do different? That's where I want you guys going.
Okay.
On the learning piece, this was a fun part for me because we've talked about it before, and I want to make sure you guys get 2 pieces out of decoding your palette. Number 1 are these 4 phases of learning in any new task. You always start in unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know. You have blind spots. In fact, I'm going to have a little more fun. I am going to draw a pie chart. Hopefully you guys can all see my happy green pen. We're going to make a pie chart together of all the potential knowledge in the entire universe. You guys can barely see that. That's unfortunate. Of all the potential knowledge in the entire universe, how much do you know you know? How much do you really know you know? I would say, and I'm only doing it this thick so you can see it, it's about that much. Of all the potential knowledge in the universe, like, I'll give you a great example. I know objection handling. I've drilled it. I've got it. I can pretty much think on my feet from all the practice. Now, here's the second question. How much do you know you don't know? Like, I know I don't know advanced math. My kids attempted to have me help them, and that was just laughable. I would challenge you all that it's maybe that much more. Everything else in here that's open is what you don't know you don't know. The unconscious incompetence. So then you learn something. You get in this room and you pick up that there's these attributes and these different parts of your life that are different than skills, yet maybe even more important. Well, we're now consciously incompetent in an area. So then we have to get to work. Okay. I'm getting better. I'm working on this. I'm knowing how to do. I'm making mistakes, as Carrie said. No, I'm having learning opportunities, and I continue to drill it. Conscious incompetence. Now all of a sudden you realize you're getting good at it. Conscious competence. You're still thinking about it. You're still working it. You're getting better. Awesome. You've got to continue to stay on that learning curve until it becomes unconscious competence. I don't think about my conversations now. By the way, sometimes that shows up in this room, doesn't it? And yet I know I'm having a good time. I know I'm being highly successful in that space. I still continue to learn and drill, yet I truly am unconsciously competent in my communication. So I want you guys working on that. What else you guys have from the content?
I'll add to that, Coach.
Thank you.
When in a few chapters back, she mentioned, he talked about how, well, teach me how you would ride a bike, where it was just, you don't have to think about it. You just ride a bike, but then thinking about how to teaching it breaks it down in a different way. And I also wanted to point out with that quote that says something like, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know anything. Something along those lines, because you uncover things. I have no idea about this. So that is also wisdom, knowing that you don't know anything. So just want to bring that little nugget between the prior chapters.
Yeah.
Can I piggyback on that, Coach?
Hold on one sec, Daryl. I'm going to give Rhonda, then you, because I saw her mic go hot and on and off. And I want to talk about what Caesar said real quick, because like I've been working in the coaching, personal development, mindset space for decades. And all of a sudden I learned about this piece of mindset called attributes, breaking it down. We all have opportunities, and to lean into them, like Caesar says, to be open to them, to continue to realize you don't know squat and stay in that learning curve is how you're going to develop that open-mindedness. It's the people who think they know everything that are the most dangerous. Rhonda, go.
I just wanted to comment on what you were saying about the not knowing what you don't know. My former broker, when I told them that I was leaving and where are you going? And I told them about you, I've never heard of him. And, and I'm like, well, you're missing out. But anyway, he goes, well, what is it that you need? And I'm like, well, if I knew what I needed, I wouldn't be looking for it. You know what I mean? I would already know where I need to go. Okay, well, then I can give you some one-on-one. What do you want to know? If I knew what I needed to know, I was like, I'm getting what I need from this. I feel it. I said, I'm drawn to him. I said, the conversations I've had with him have helped me to grow already. And I'm just not getting that here. I'm sorry, But again, it was just like, well, what do you want to know? Well, let's see. If I already know it, then what do I need you for? So anyway, that was it.
And it's entertaining. I love it. By the way, you know what I want you to do now, Rhonda? I want you to text me his name and number.
Okay.
He needs the opportunity to start a relationship with me. We never know where we'll go. And I'm totally open as we continue to have these conversations about building great relationships, meaningful relationships with new people. If they want the same, magic can happen. Now, Daryl and I are well on the way to building a pretty cool, meaningful relationship, aren't we, Daryl? So speak on up, brother.
All right. So the just a couple of things that I connected the dots on what you said and something that Caesar has said. You're talking about the things that we don't know. And I think when we run into those situations where we're faced with things that we don't know, when we're finding out, hey, I don't really know a whole lot about this, it really does go back to that self-chatter, what we're telling ourselves on what we can accomplish and what we can't accomplish. Because I know that we've all been in situations where we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We didn't know how this was going to go. And a lot of times that'll create fear. It'll create doubt. It'll create anxiety around whatever that new situation is. And then we'll just kind of get paralysis through analysis, right? And then we won't make any moves on it. So being able to work through those things, it does have a lot to do with what we tell ourselves. Like just a real quick, real life example. One of my daughters, well, all my daughters play softball now, but my youngest one started playing last year, and the kid is built like a hitter, but she wasn't hitting. So I asked her, I was like, hey, when you go up to the plate, like, tell me, like, what are you telling yourself? Like, what do you believe when you walk up to the plate? What's going on in your mind? And she was like, well, I've never played softball before, Dad, so I just think I'm going to strike out. And I was like, okay, there's your problem. When you walk up to the plate, don't say this out loud. I'll let you say it inside. But when you walk up to the plate, I want you to tell yourself, I'm going to hit the shit out of this ball. I'm going to smack it. And she started telling herself that, and the kid's hitting home runs now. Like she's killing it. So I'm a firm believer that whatever we tell ourselves is going to create the reality around us for sure.
Abso-freaking-lutely. It all starts with our own internal story. We're all creating one. We can create one that's negative. We can create one that's positive. Hell, we're all living a hallucination. This is all fake. So why not choose to make it a great one? What else you guys have?
I also want to plug in the chapter, the humor chapter, because I've rewatched, I don't know how many times, The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan doc. And every time I'm kind of bored, I'll just put it in the background. And there's a scene there where they're in the Olympic Games, and it got tough between MJ and Magic's team. And then they went back on the bus, and everything was tense because of the game that just ended. And then Magic happened to make a moment like, I guess we won't poke Air Jordan or something along those lines, where it was just humorous and everyone laughed and everyone got back into the team mode. So it was critical to have that situational awareness as well, right? To understanding like, this is a tense moment, let me break it up. And sometimes people do it naturally. They don't really think about it. It's just such a quick thing. But that humor attribute is so such a key component into, and then also it points out not to have, if you have a group of 10 people, not to have 6 of them be humor, because then you won't get anything accomplished, because everyone is a comedic genius, and you won't get anything.
You'll have a great time though, right?
Exactly. So just want to plug in those two things that I thought usually we don't think about that attribute, humor, as an attribute, but it's so important to have someone not be so uptight all the time and just kind of bring it light. So I want to bring that light.
So let's dive a little more into the content, specifically into developing these attributes, because the author says learning a skill is different from developing an attribute. We all have attributes. All of these attributes, every one of you has the ability to be a humorist. It may not be developed. You may choose to develop it. That's the key. Developing an attribute must be a deliberate, conscious choice. And the process is still basically the same to learning a skill. It's going to be practice, practice, practice. And the author puts in here a great acronym called START, which, by the way, is a thing we should do with anything we want to get going. Maybe it's the attribute of communication better, becoming a better communicator and having a better attitude and energy around it. Being more open-minded. Maybe it's being more self-aware, knowing where the conversation's going to go. You still got to practice it. So the START acronym, number 1, slow down. In any situation, especially stressful and certain ones, the key is to use your logical forebrain, not your reactionary lizard brain, not your fight or flight, which means you got to slow down. Number 2, think. That's why you engage the forebrain. Where you are and where do you want to be? Pretty simple and straightforward. Are you rigid, yet you want to be adaptable? Are you desire to be focused and on task, yet you're allowing things to get in the way? Stupid stuff. Number 3 for the A, act deliberately. You've slowed down, you've thought, you're calm, and now you've thought out what you want to do. Take the action. Number 4, recognize results. We take an action, what occurred? Now here's a key. Everything in life happens on the bell curve. To make a bell curve, you have to have a number of swings at the bat. To go back to Daryl's, if his little girl comes up and takes one swing, he cannot truly tell where that swing can be adjusted. It's swing after swing after swing after swing. We can see what's happening on the bell curve. Now we can give coaching. So if you recognize results, recognize them over time. I make a call, somebody treats me bad, I'm never going to make a call again. It's an anomaly. It's the edge of the bell curve. Hope that makes sense. And finally, number 5, try a new environment. If what you're doing isn't working, get in a different place to do it. That's what Rhonda did with coming here. Where she was at, the environment she was in, the people she was around, the culture wasn't serving her. She's now plugging into a new environment. She's becoming a different person, and magic is beginning to happen, and it will continue to do so. So follow that START acronym, get plugged in, keep doing what you're doing, and gosh darn it, man, let's see magic happen. 2 more minutes. Who else has something to add to the room? I'm totally okay with taking this last minute then to close it out. Give gratitude to all of you for being here, for wrapping this one up. That's our mindset book. Now we're going to skill set. We always go back and forth. This bad boy is going to set you up for the 4th quarter. So please, 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 1, get the content written. I'm okay if you do audio as well. I love you having the written. 2, my house rules. Where is that bad boy? There it is. I feel it here. Green highlighters. I buy them by the box because green is a happy color. It's not a caution color like yellow. And I go through, watch, I'll crack this book. Well, I'll crack attributes open. And it's funny. My green ran out and I had to go buy a new green highlighter. So you'll see this page actually has yellow. That's okay. I didn't make an excuse not to do it because I didn't have the right highlighter. Next page I crack open green. So get the content, read the content, highlight. We're only going to do chapter 1 on Monday just to get in the flow. And last thing, invite people. Make sure you guys are showing up. Make sure other people in your organization are. Make sure other agents are. Any brokerage, we don't care. We want to help them. And make sure other salespeople are. You know, people who either own a business, so they better be selling, or they work in a sales position that we can help. Let's plug them in. Let's come from a heart of service. Let's keep loving on our people and watch the magic happen in our business. Guys, appreciate you. Been a great week. I will not be with you this afternoon because I am headed to go pick up my son at the airport. He's flying in. And Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I will probably do mornings with you because he tends to sleep in when he's on vacation. And yet you guys won't see me the rest of the day. That being said, I am always reachable. My cell phone's on. If I don't answer, I never delete a text or a voicemail until I've gotten it resolved. So feel free to ask for the help.